Sandbox games, slap. Fighting games, also slap. Really, any game with emergent strategy is cool. But me personally, I'm a first-person shooter guy. And usually, strategy in the FPS genre means hero shooter, which is kind of a saturated market. That's why I'm developing a zero-gravity movement shooter called Astro, where the emergent strategy comes from unique weapons and complex physics. The problem is, after 3 years of development, I don't have either of these.
Wait, Harold. What do you mean?
Instead of unique weapons, I have the most common guns found in every first-person shooter. And this whole time, I've been faking the physics. The first thing I want to do is make Astro have real physics. What you're seeing might look like real physics, but in reality, I'm manually setting the position of the player each frame based on their inputs. This is preventing me from adding other moving objects, because as soon as you bump into a moving object or an enemy player, you get rubber banding, an atrocity to the gamer experience. The problem is when you update each player separately, the client and the server will get different calculations. To solve this, you need to move all players into one update run by an actual physics engine. Luckily, Unreal Engine has an option for objects to simulate physics. So all I have to do is enable this, and then run the physics engine in my baller networking system, NetTick. Yeah, unfortunately, networking physics isn't going to be that easy. I know I'm not getting rid of NetTick, so I need to find a new physics engine. Jolt is an open source physics engine made by Ru that meets all the requirements. It even supports multi-threading, which could come in handy later. Now I just need to integrate this into NetTick. In the new version of NetTick, every object has replicated velocity, acceleration, mass, and inertia. I also switched to fixed time stepping, which means that I use a constant 16 milliseconds per physics frame instead of whatever the player's frame rate is. The result is glorious. Fully networked, fully dynamic physics. To tie this back into interactability, I made it so that you can kick objects. You can also use your magnet to attract any object, even a player, even if they're dead. So, the physics is cool now, but it's kind of hard to care about physics when all you're doing is shooting. I want to add a cool new weapon that takes advantage of the new physics system. So I decided to ask my Discord, and they chose the boomerang. Wait, what was that? You want to be in my Discord? Link's in the description. So I set out to make the boomerang, but I quickly realized that my physics system was built with the assumption that everything was either a player or a floating cube. I could rework it so that every object in the game was either a player, a cube, or a boomerang. But riddle me this. What if physics is just a component of an object? And what if objects aren't objects at all, but they're entities? And what if the thing that updates the components on the entities is a system?
Entity component system.
Entity component system.
Sistema di componenti dell'entità.
An entity component system.
So instead of the properties being in one place, you break them up into components. Then you can just reuse your components to make anything you want.
So, entity component systems are the hot new thing, and everyone is talking about them. But no one has made an entity component system in a first-person shooter. That's in zero gravity. So I went ahead and did it. Now, the motion properties are in a physics component. The health is in a health component. So you can damage any entity with this component, not just player entities. Likewise, there's a team component for associating any entity with a team. With this in place, I added a physics component to my boomerang entity, and now I just add a simple curl force to the boomerang, and the physics system handles the rest. After I finished the boomerang, I looked back at that poll and saw that the sword was only 5 votes behind, so I decided that that would be the next new weapon. Now, conventional wisdom says you can't bring a knife to a gunfight, and this was proving very true in our playtests. But what if the sword could block bullets? Blocking would work, except for the fact that every gun in my game is a hit scan. So I currently just check if the player is looking at an enemy and then apply damage. To make blocking work, we need to take that bullet and physicalize it. Now I know what you're thinking. He's going to add a physics component to the bullet. The problem is that the Jolt physics engine only checks for collisions at the end of the frame. This works fine if an object is moving slow enough, but a bullet moves so fast that it can go from one side of the wall to the other in a single frame. The correct approach is to make a projectile component, which calculates the bullet's next position just like before, but then casts a ray between the current position and the next position to detect collisions. Now that the guns are using projectiles instead of hit scan, I can add cool effects like ricochet and knockback. And by configuring the sword to destroy incoming projectiles, you can safely bring a knife to a gunfight. To give it one more little buff so that it can compete with the guns, we'll make it so you can hold down left click to stab. Let's see how this playtests.
Oh my goodness. I have a treat for you, those out.
Dang it.
No, you're supposed to wait for the treat. Draw your weapon. I can't take it anymore. I'm gonna go insane.
It ended up being a lot more powerful than I thought, but we'll leave it in for now. Now that I have all the tech I need, I can make any weapon I want. Looking at the Discord poll, there's still 71 people who voted for the bazooka, probably because whoever made this poll knows exactly what his community wants. To make the bazooka, I first make a rocket entity. Then I add a physics component. Then I add a rocket component that applies a constant force. Then I spawn the entity out of the barrel of the launcher. And then when Jolt detects a collision, I get all the entities in the explosion radius with a health component and damage them. Next on the list is shurikens. These are just basic projectiles, but instead of being spawned from a gun entity, they're spawned from a player entity. The twist we added for this guy is that when you right click, you can drop shurikens, and then the next time you left click, you trigger all the shurikens. This made for some pretty cool clips. I want to make one last weapon that interacts with all the systems we created. A net that can trap enemies, but makes them invincible once trapped. I'll make the net an entity with a physics component and a new custom net component. which reacts to collisions with enemy players by collapsing around them, blocking all their components from performing any actions. This automatically blocks the health component from receiving any damage. But when we playtested this, the game loop was kind of stale, because you had to wait 8 seconds for the net to release the player you captured, and in that time, their teammates could come and kill you. I fixed this by making it so you can damage the trapped player, but only with a kick. This led to some pretty funny team combos.
Oh, why did I kick that?
No way.
So bullied.
Massive bully.
Oh no.
Can we have a little kick?
Oh.
Alright, this has been a lot of work, but we finally have the awesome weapons and complex physics I always wanted. I found this clip my brother got in our last playtest that shows all this coming together. First, he comes swinging at a spawn. He starts shooting at a sword player who blocks his bullets, and then he hits a dash right before the sword slices. He gets hit from behind, so he tosses out his net to catch the shurikens. Then he sees the enemy to his left is low based on the red health number above their head, so he quickly finishes them off. Now the sword player is back and starts charging a stab. He kicks the player, which parries the stab, leaving them vulnerable for a quick kill. Then he retracts his net so he can rethrow it to better protect against more incoming shurikens. Lastly, he hides behind a physics body where he keeps shooting at the enemy, finally getting the kill right before the enemy's shuriken kills him in a trade. Here's the full clip with no breaks. Oh, dang, good kick.
Oh.
I've been hosting single lobby playtests with my Patreon supporters, but now I want to have our first large-scale playtest on multiple servers. If you want to be a part of that, you should go to Steam and click Request Access on the playtest button. While you're there, you should wishlist the game on Steam or Epic Games Store. If you want to support Astro and participate in more frequent closed playtests, you should consider joining the Patreon. Lastly, I'm looking to add a ton of new weapons to Astro that'll push the limits of interactability. With my new systems, I feel like I can tackle anything, so I'm looking for unique weapon ideas. What I mean by this is I want weapons with a truly different game loop. For example, I've been thinking about adding some kind of healing item where the focus is trying to position yourself to best heal teammates while staying out of combat. This is a lot different from guns where all you have to do is aim at enemies. Really, I just want anything that's functionally more nuanced than a gun. If you have an idea, please leave a comment explaining it. I'll definitely be reading all of them, and I'll be adding the best ideas to the game. See you in the next devlog. Peace.